If Deku Was a Majin, Part 1. Before I do begin, I'd like to say I'm sorry for it coming out at a little later than I usually do, and that's why it's going to be a 20-minute video. But to get right into it, Deku was born pink. He had pink skin. Now, he doesn't look like the Majin Buu on the thumbnail or on the image I show in the background. He doesn't have that weird tentacle coming out of his head. He still has hair, but this time it's pure white hair. He has, imagine Deku's hair, pure white, and he has pink skin. Now, Deku was, once he went into school, people immediately kind of bullied him for having, like, pink skin. But he never really cared. Remember, like, Deku always liked eating candy and chocolate like this, but this never made him fat for some reason, and he was always stronger than everybody else, like, at a completely different scale from quirks. So, when they went to the quirk doctor said that Izuku has a very strong quirk called Majin. It cannot be taken or given to people, but it is very strong, and that's why his skin is pink. Now, Deku asks what the abilities are as the doctor lists them off. He says that he can fly at very high speeds, and he can control sort of energy to shoot them out as sort of blasts. Deku immediately comes up with a name for this, as he calls it Ki. The doctor also explained that Deku can make electricity emanate through his body to shock anybody who touches him. He can fire a beam from his hands that make people into a food he wants. He can absorb people, which kind of scares the doctor, and he can also recreate people's attacks, which Izuku thinks is pretty cool. He jumps up and he's like, yeah, I can be just like All Might. And one final thing the doctor says is that he also has sort of a telekinetic thing where he can lift people up, like telekinesis basically. So he has that where he can lift people up, and he says his telekinesis is on a scale of what All Might's quirk is, which just makes Deku even more happy. So Deku asks if they can go to the park. They go to the park, and he sees that Bakugo is bullying on somebody. Being the naturally heroic person that Deku is, runs in and pushes Bakugo out of the way. Bakugo, of course, being the fiery hothead that he is, jumps up and says, "What the hell, Deku? Why'd you do that?" Izuku just standing there, and you're like, "Why are you being mean, Bakugo? You're acting like a villain than a hero." As Bakugo just looks at me, he's like, "You pink bastard!" as he charges right at Izuku, only for Izuku to say, "Izuku make you chocolate," as Bakugo turns into chocolate as a beam fired out of his pointer finger as Deku is pointing at him. Deku's like, "Whoa, did I just make him chocolate?" He thinks for a minute before he takes out a clump of his head, but not really. Like, where Bakugo's hair is, he takes a clump of that chocolate out and eats it, as he somehow, I'm not sure if Buu can do this in the original, but he says, "Zuku make you human again," or something like that. I'm not sure if Buu can actually make the chocolate people if he can turn them back, but in this story he can. Bakugo comes back, and he's like, What'd you do, Pinky? What'd you do, Pinky? Wait, why is my hair missing?" As he just sees Izuku eating a chocolate that looks exactly like his hair. So he's like, "What'd you do to my hair, Pinky?" For like the second time, Deku just says, "Oh, I made you chocolate, and then I ate your hair. It tastes pretty good." as Bakugo's about to throw an explosion at him, only for Izuku to say, "Do you want to do it again? I can eat your ear this time." Which freaks out Bakugo as he runs to his mom. Which, to be honest, Bakugo's mother, Misuki, would probably end up taking a bunch of pictures of a bald Bakugo. Which is probably true. When he said that Izuku took off his hair after making him chocolate, just made Misuki laugh. As Inko walks up and takes Izuku home. Now, from that day forth, Izuku was always, happy, and he if he got mad, people knew not to make him mad, as the last time somebody made him mad, he turned almost the entire school into chocolate. Everybody inside the school, turned into chocolate, and, they saw everybody around them turning into chocolate before they were turned into it, too. But he didn't eat anybody. So from that day forth, nobody made him mad, as he was always pretty much happy. He has basically a booze personality, always happy. But when Bakugo tried to bully him for being pink, Izuku just ends up sending a small pink ki blast right at Bakugo. Now, time skip 10 years until he's 15. Deku ends up learning how to fly at high speeds. He can pick up a city with his telekinesis, maybe even more, and he's very strong, probably stronger than All Might, and he's very strong, very durable, can easily last a bunch of hits from a Nomu or All Might himself going 100%, and he also learned how to use ki. This was something he learned when he was around 7. He always wondered what this energy was that he could never use until he saw Bakugo doing the same thing that he did to Izuku, picking on somebody for being different. This person was quirkless, not that it matters, but Izuku fired a small ki blast at him, which from that day forth, Izuku trained. Now, after Izuku got his quirk, he turned very happy, but he always, basically, when it comes to training, he's like Asta from Black Clover. He calls strength training fun, which everyone's just confused as this guy during recess would just be doing laps or doing hundreds of push-ups. Izuku loves to train, which made him very strong. Stronger than normally if he didn't train. Now, after school one day, Deku's walking back as he gets encased in slime, or sludge, if I say. As Zuku just looks at him, or looking from outside of him as he's encased in it, as he says some words, being muffled by the sludge, as he says, "Izuku make you chocolate," which turns the sludge villain into chocolate with Izuku inside of it as he eats his way out, which, for some reason, Izuku never gets fat. Izuku always, for some reason, Izuku never, could gain weight. The only weight on him is his muscle and maybe a tiny bit of fat. Every time he ate chocolate, nothing would happen. The chocolate just goes instantly through him with, no effect. Basically, what I'm saying is he cannot get fat. So, once he eats the whole sludge villain, All Might appears out of the sewers. He's like, "Have no fear, for I am here." As Izuku just looks at him and he's like, "Oh, hi, All Might." All Might looking around and he's like, "Young boy, have you seen a sludge villain around here?" Izuku's eyes just widen and he's like, yeah." All Might kindly asks him, "Could you point me in the direction that they're in?" As Izuku just points to his stomach. As All Might's like, "Wait, why are you pointing at your stomach?" Suzuku's just rubbing the back of his neck and he's like, "Oh, I ate him. He was yummy." As All Might's just looking at him and he's like, wait, you ate the sludge? Suzuki's just like, no, I made him into chocolate. Which, again, surprises All Might. And he's like, you turned him into chocolate, huh? Suzuki's just like, yeah, I can turn anybody into chocolate with the point of my finger. Suzuki turns a street lamp into chocolate as he's like, oh, whoops. I'll save that one for later. As he picks up the street lamp and just starts walking away. As All Might walks up to him and says, hey, you can't use your quirk in public. Suzuki's just like, wait, I can't? I don't really care. I can turn anybody into chocolate if they stop me. Which just makes All Might, shiver. If this kid had a more villainous attitude, he'd be turning people into chocolate left and right. All Might doesn't even know if he could turn the people back. He just saw this kid, murder a villain by eating him. This obviously calls All Might to, worry, but he's hoping he sees Deku at the UA entrance exam. Bakugo never gets captured by the sludge villain, remember. He's been eaten by Zuko, and Zuko trains twice as hard than he usually would to get into the entry, or get into UA. Now, 10 months pass as Zuko's walking right into UA, but somebody catches his eye, a pink girl. You guys can already tell what ship this is going to be, so don't try and stop it, but yeah, it's probably going to have relevance more in the next episode or part, but yeah. Deku walks in, just focusing on the test, as President Mike starts explaining that there's a 1-pointer, 2-pointer, and 3-pointer. That's when somebody stands up as he yells, President Mike, it appears UA made a mistake on this pamphlet. There is a 4th robot. If this is a mistake, I am very shocked and annoyed that such a highly valued school and rich school would make something so stupid as a mistake. I'm very disappointed in this school. And Suzuki just stands up and says, why you yell at him? Boo never really had proper grammar. I'm gonna make Izuku less like Boo, but he's just like, wait, why are you yelling at him? He didn't even explain it yet. He says, still in a cheery tone, which kind of makes everybody just sweat drop, man, does this kid ever get sad? President Mike ends up finishing explaining, saying, yes, there's a 4th robot, and that's the 0-pointer. Once he's done explaining, everyone starts lining up. Izuku sees the same pink girl again, but thinks nothing of it. Now, once the doors open and nothing happens, Izuku just runs in, more like flies in at a very low level, as he just starts lifting up all of the robots, as he says, Izuku make you chocolate. As all the robots in the arena that were lifted up immediately turn into chocolate. As everyone's just walking around looking for any robots, they just see all these chocolate robots. And once they get to the center of the city, they see Izuku sleeping with a bunch of crumbs around him. Keep in mind, he cannot get fat, basically, as for some reason with his quirk just allows him to get so much stronger that he just can't. Everyone's just looking at him kind of shocked, and he's like, wait, did this guy just make all the robots chocolate? That's a very powerful quirk, I guess. You can turn the villains into chocolate and then transport them to jail. It's a weird quirk, though. Everyone just starts muttering until everyone's like, wait, can we eat the chocolate? As Suzuki just sits up and he's like, yeah, go ahead. And then falls right back asleep as everyone starts going around eating some of the robots. And that day of the entrance exam is known as the Chocolate Massacre, as almost no robots were spared, as they all were eaten by everybody. Zuko ends up happy that everyone likes his chocolate that he made out of the robots, but Yue ends up telling all the students that were in that city block that they'll have to come back next week in order to redo the exam, so they have time to rebuild all the robots that were eaten. Now, let's say 2 weeks pass, the second exam, or the redo exam goes with Izuku not being there, because for obvious reasons, he'd probably just do the same thing again. And after a week after that, he gets a letter in the mail. He opens it up and sees All Might. He says, "Hello, young Midoriya. Now I've come here to tell you that you've gotten a very high point count of 10,000 points. We didn't even have a chance to throw the 0-pointer at you because it was also chocolate. I'd like to welcome you into UA, or your Hero Academia," as the thing self-destructs. Izuku is obviously pretty happy as he's just smiling and he's like, "Yeah, I made it." Which, imagine Izuku, pink hair, or white hair and pink skin, just jumping up like how Boo is. Like, yeah. Izuku's mom walks in and he's like, "Oh, you made it. You made it, right?" She hugs him crying and he's like, "Oh, I just knew my baby could make it." Now, a couple more days pass as the first day of UA arrives. As Zuko's flying there, he ends up getting to the entrance. He walks into the classroom as there was only 2 people there. The same pink-haired girl and Ida. Zuko was too excited to see what time it was, so we flew there very fast, when in reality he still had 30 minutes before class started. Now, if you're wondering why Mina is there so early, because she thought her alarm clock said that she needed to go and ended up hurrying. Mina also sees Zuko, which he catches her eye. She's like, "Whoa, another pinky. That's cool." As Zuko sits down next to her, and he's like, "Your skin pink too?" She's like, "Yeah." "Wait, were you the guy that made everything into chocolate?" She's like, "Yeah." Zuko made desk chocolate. As his desk turns into chocolate, as he takes a chunk out of it, breaks it in half, and gives some to Mina, which is the start of their sort of relationship. As Mina's like, "Thanks," as she eats the chocolate with Izuku saying, "Zuko make desk back desk. Izuku make desk not chocolate," as it turns back into a desk. As everybody in the room right now, which is a staggering 1 more person, being Bakugo, surprised that he just made a desk chocolate, ripped out a chunk of it so he could give some to Mina. This obviously makes Mina happy, as she's like, "Whoa, you ate so much chocolate. How are you not fat yet?" Zuko just lifts up his shirt and he's like, "I can't get fat," as he just shows her like his 6-pack, and she gets a nosebleed and crashes into the wall. Now, by that point, somehow 30 minutes have passed, as Aizawa walks in, as he's like, "If you're here to make friends, I suggest you leave." What's up with her? As he sees Mina indented into the wall with a massive nosebleed. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. Sort of a cliffhanger. Not really, though. I hope you guys did enjoy What If Deku Was a Majin Part 1. And Part 2 will probably be out around the same time as it was out today. It might be another 20-minute video, so get ready for that. And yeah, guys, bye.